We're back with Alden Chodash of AldenBoxing.com. This past weekend, Alden, on ShowBox, Andre Ward demolishes Jerson Ravello, who didn't show up to fight. Andre Ward is now finally ready for a big step up in class?
Yeah, definitely. He's faced too many of Jerson Ravellos throughout his career. Jerson Ravello is not a bad fighter, but he just proved on Friday he wasn't experienced enough to test Andre Ward in a way that could expose some of his weaknesses. Andre Ward had an easy time. He overwhelmed Jerson Ravello. Got a little wild, but got the job done nevertheless. Yeah, he's definitely ready for the step up. He's fought decent fighters. I think he's ready for more experienced fighters. So let's see how he does.
Okay, on HBO Saturday night, Chris Arreola took care of Chaz Witherspoon. And now are you getting impressed with Arreola? You like the way he fights?
Yeah, this was a very good performance by Arreola. It's much better than recent performances, unspectacular performances. This time he got a decent heavyweight out in the early rounds with his punching power. He provided the best display of his punching power I've ever seen, and he threw it in combinations with decent hand speed compared to recent performances. He's going to be dangerous. He throws a lot of punches in combinations, and he definitely is a good puncher that can be effective down the stretch. So this is a very good performance.
All right, first of all, some people call it a controversial stoppage. Do you think, first of all, do you think it should have been stopped?
It was going to get stopped one way or another. Yeah, by the rules, it was a correct ruling. It was a disqualification. The corner jumped in, similar to Barrera versus Junior Jones in the first fight, in which a DQ replaced a likely stoppage victory for the fighter who was on the verge of a knockout. Jones in that case. This case, it was Arreola. The corner may not have known they broke the rules, but they did, and it wouldn't have made a difference in the fight anyways.
So Lou DiBella, what would you say to Lou DiBella, who's complaining about the stoppage and protesting and insists on a rematch? Do you think?
I don't think Witherspoon is ready for Arreola anytime soon, anyways.
Okay. Andre Berto was also on the card. He finished off Mickey Rodriguez in the late rounds. Berto is on the level of Cotto Margarito, or no?
No, not right now. He's only has a couple of fights against good fighters. I mean, when the best fighter on your resume is David Estrada, you got to think twice about taking some of the best fighters in the world, let alone just best welterweights in the world. Cotto Margarito and even Paul Williams, three of the best welterweights in the world and best fighters in the world. Andre Berto is unlucky that he has such a tough turnout in the rest of the division, but I think he should stick to slightly better opposition than he's been fighting right now, and maybe kick it up a notch.
What do you think?
Next year, maybe he'd be ready for one of the three.
Do you think he's a candidate for the winner of Judah Clottey?
Yeah, that's really the kind of opposition I'd love to see him up against. Fighters that he can beat, and fighters that would test him and bring him to another level, possibly.
Okay, Arthur Abraham on Saturday, Showtime. He humiliated, I would say, Edison Miranda. First of all, do you think Miranda, his career just about was over when he took the pounding from Kelly Pavlik? He's not the same fighter as he used to be, is he?
I would have to think twice about that. I mean, Edison Miranda just has somewhat of a suspect chin, especially against good punchers. Just it's not too much of a knock on his resume. You gotta look over the kind of punching power Kelly Pavlik and Arthur Abraham bring to the table. They're huge punchers, and they caught Miranda cleanly. Kelly Pavlik wore him down over attrition, which he can do. It's very capable of doing to the rest of the middleweight division. He did it to Jermaine Taylor, and Arthur Abraham just got in the big punches. He also almost beat Abraham in the first fight, and was ahead in the fight before Abraham got that big left hook in. So his career probably is over. It's going to do a lot to drain his confidence, Edison Miranda. So mentally his career may be over, but I think Edison Miranda still has it in him to win a couple fights, just
not on the top level.
Not really.
Okay, but of course Abraham Pavlik is the one that people I'm sure want to see right away, but it seems like Raul Marquez will cause that to be delayed. Raul Marquez, Arthur Abraham, is there any way the veteran could pull off the upset?
No, but Raul Marquez somewhat rejuvenated his career. He looked good in beating a good fighter, Giovanni Lorenzo. Not a great fighter, as we found out on Saturday. Just didn't have the heart, really. But this guy's a veteran, a pro. He's a former champion. He could possibly give Abraham some trouble, especially in opening rounds in which Abraham has traditionally took off, as he showed again in both fights against Edison Miranda. He may do that again, but in the majority of fights, he comes back and wears you out and gets you out of there late. Raul Marquez may be too experienced to fall victim to another one of those outcomes that Arthur Abraham's accustomed to. But
So you expect a boring, long fight?
not a boring fight, maybe in the early rounds, but Arthur Abraham usually starts to open up eventually, and it could be interesting.
Okay. And if Abraham, everything goes well with him, he does take on Kelly Pavlik early next year. Who do you think has the edge right now?
Probably Kelly Pavlik. Kelly Pavlik is no sucker for one shot or an accumulative rally by Abraham that would get him out of there. Kelly Pavlik could take a big shot, as he's shown, and come back. I think his height would prevent Abraham from getting in position to rally, steal rounds, or even hurt him badly like he did against Edison Miranda. Kelly Pavlik would win that fight. He's a good all-around boxer, and to keep Abraham at a distance.
And do you think Pavlik would be able to pierce the peekaboo defense with the tremendous power that he puts behind his punches?
I think he places his punches very well. He has a good, wide variety of punches. And even if he doesn't, he'll keep Abraham at a distance to keep him from scoring. And eventually, Pavlik will get in his punches.
Okay, of course, Saturday, pay-per-view, HBO, Manny Pacquiao, David Diaz. Who do you think's going to win?
Manny Pacquiao is going to win that fight. He's too quick. The only question going into this fight is if Pacquiao could bring his power up to 135. He's fighting a physically strong 135-pounder, David Diaz, who has fought at 140 pounds before against good fighters, such as Kendall Holt, although he was stopped in that fight. But the only question is if Pacquiao is going to maintain his devastating power at 135. And even his speed, if he's going to maintain that kind of quickness, it's unlikely he won't. It's more of a question about his power. But the big question mark is whether he could bring up what he had at 130, rather than if he could beat David Diaz. Because David Diaz is now definitely far from one of the best 135-pounders in the world, although he's a titleist.
Do you expect Pacquiao will bring his A game?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of hard. It's despite all those rumors that he's undertrained or not focused for fights, he always comes in with his A game. I can't recall the last performance that he wasn't at his best.
So if the power's there, you expect a stoppage? Otherwise, it should be a clear-cut victory, or am I wrong?
Yeah, stoppage over attrition, because Diaz can take a punch, but I think it's going to be too much.
Cannot take a punch?
Can take a punch, but I think Pacquiao is going to wear him out with the volume of punches.
So you're leaning towards stoppage?
Yeah,
okay.
Latter rounds.
Okay, future fights that not official, but look like they may come to be. Nate Campbell, Joan Guzman. Nate Campbell Guzman. Sounds interesting, no?
It is an interesting fight. Guzman moving up in weight once again. He was a 122-pounder, I believe, to begin his career. Really no question in that situation whether he could bring up his power, but probably his speed maybe. He's a fighter that thrives on speed only, really. He's very quick. Forays usually bring him to victory in almost every one of his fights. I think he can. Nate Campbell is not very quick. It's unlikely that he'll be as inspired in this fight as he was against Juan Diaz. But even if he is, I think Joan Guzman's going to be too quick for him if that fight ever comes off.
Okay, what about Steve Molitor versus Celestino Caballero? Looks like it's going to happen in November. Who do you think wins?
It's a very interesting matchup. Steve Molitor is giving away a lot of height to Celestino Caballero. Is a much better technical fighter. Both are southpaws. Caballero probably could find a way to win, as he does in a lot of fights, but Steve Molitor is more technically sound, and I think he'd probably end up with a victory in that fight.